this out of my head ages ago, but it's there again. I wouldn't want to write this online or anywhere, but now I have to. I think it'll be back. It was 1999, and I was only 9 years old, but I was crazy with Lego bricks. It was really the only thing I played with. Whereas other kids played with mini race cars or action figures, I stuck with the good old Legos. I like to collect all kinds of sets, from castle to city, because I wanted to have a really wide collection of different sized and colored Legos. One day, a new set came to my local toy store. It was called the Hook and Haul Wrecker. I, of course, wanted it, because it had axles that could turn in different directions. I usually saved money for situations like that, and thankfully, I had just enough money to buy this set. I didn't even ask my parents. I just ran home to snatch my money and then back to the shop to buy the set. I got home with a brand new set of bright, new Lego bricks. My mom asked me where I got it, but when I explained, she understood. I ran to my room and opened the package. That was when I noticed something weird. You know how all the package full of brand new plastic pieces have that ordinary smell? Well, this one didn't. It was like it was already opened, but since I was young and didn't really care about things like that, I started ripping up the bags that had the bricks inside them. Like most Lego sets, the figure is built first into the instructions, so I opened up the bag with the figure pieces to build them. I put the torso on the legs and the head on the torso, but when I tried to place the cap on the figure's head, it didn't fit. When I looked closer at the head, I noticed it was a little twisted. The eyes were too much to the right, and the head overall was bent so that it was impossible to put a hat or a wig on it. I decided to let it be for now and complain to the shop later on. Maybe, at best, I could get another set for free. I built the car and I liked it a lot. But as with most of the sets, I dismantled it almost right away and sorted all the bricks into boxes that I had sorted all my bricks into. It was already sort of late, and I went to bed happy about the new set. If I had known then what was wrong with it, I would not have been so happy. The next morning I woke up. I wanted to check out the twisted head again to actually do an analysis on how damaged it was. I got to the box with the figure parts, but the head didn't seem to be there. I dug through the heads, hats, torsos, and legs, but I couldn't find that head. I turned around and suddenly, the head was on my table. I swear it wasn't there when I woke up. I didn't really suspect anything too bad, but it definitely was freaky. I went upstairs to have breakfast, and when I came back down to my room, the head was not on the table anymore. I asked my parents if they had moved it, but neither said they did. My parents aren't really that type of people who make pranks, so, I believe them. I couldn't find the head anywhere. I searched and searched, went through every single place in my room, when suddenly my mom shouted upstairs, "Honey, you really shouldn't put your toys in the cutlery cupboard." I was shocked when I went and opened up the cupboard, and there it was. The strange, twisted head was there, next to the knives. How on earth could it have gotten there? That was the point, when I started suspecting something. So I brought the head back into my room and actually got investigating it. The first thing I found was that instead of saying Lego on the stud on the head, was some strange shapes you couldn't really get the sense out of. When I better looked at it, it was almost like Lego, but little disfigured, being more like IFI6, or at least that's how I remembered it. There was really nothing else that strange to it, except that it's twisted, obviously. I put the head back on its proper body and threw it in the mini figure box. I went outside to play with my friends and came back home later than usual. My mom has a nighttime job every now and then, hence her being police, and my dad usually falls asleep on the couch when watching the Saturday show. So, when I got home, I found my dad sleeping and my mom gone, so I decided to do what I usually did when I was bored. Played with Legos. When I got downstairs to my room, I found out something weirder than anything happened before. The minifigure with the twisted head had a Lego sword on its hand, and there was a plastic cola bottle next to it, completely destroyed. It was only a bottle, of course, but my cat doesn't do that stuff, and again, my parents neither. I started thinking about StudHead a little differently. Yes, it was so special I gave it a name. StudHead. How could have a minifigure slash the plastic bottle with a weak plastic sword that could hardly cut paper? I decided to do a little test. I put StudHead in a little safe that I kept money in. I locked it and hid it under my bed. Only I could find and open that, so if someone was playing a trick on me, he's not going to be able to do it anymore. I went to sleep and woke up to the sun shining in my room from the window. Since it was summer, it was probably like 5 or 6 a.m. I wanted to check my safe anyway, just to make sure no one has robbed it. The lock is still set at the same numbers, and the safe was in the exact same place, but when I opened it, I saw something horrible. StudHead was covered in blood. As far as I knew, it was actual blood. The sword in StudHead's hand was the same, but it had an actual metallic blade to it, just like the ones on our meat-cutting knives in the kitchen. I was very sleepy, but the shock woke me up entirely. All my money I had in there was red from blood. All the coins looked like they were made from red metal, and all the paper money was ripped. I looked at StudHead's face. The eyes had moved to the left, and it almost looked like the mouth had opened a little. I really started to freak out, hoping it was just a dream. I saw the marking on the stud on the head had changed too, and then I realized that his head was cursed. The Lego marking had turned into 666. I turned my head slowly to see my room, and I saw very small bloody footsteps that were shaped like squares. I thought, no, they couldn't be StudHead's steps. Or could they? I was still holding the safe tight in my hands, because if that figure was actually the making of the devil, I didn't want it to escape. I walked through my room, upstairs into the TV room, following the steps, and that was when everything inside me crashed down to the bottom of my body. On the floor I saw Timmy, our cat, brutally killed. It was slashed open and entirely red from gore. I dropped the safe, making everything from coins to StudHead itself fly around the room and back into the living room. I fell to my knees and looked at our disfigured cat. I couldn't look at it any longer without throwing up. It was just so disgusting. I ran out of the TV room into the living room, horrified of what I just saw. I let out the loudest scream I had ever let out, obviously waking up my parents. They both rushed out, still having their underwear on. When I got out of the TV room, my dad heard a weird noise, and before I said anything about our cat, I heard it too. There was a silent hissing sound coming from downstairs. I opened my eyes wide and looked around the safe I dropped. StudHead wasn't there anymore. My dad rushed downstairs and before long shouted from the top of his lungs, "Get the fuck out now!" He rushed back up, grabbed me and my mom, who had just grabbed the small box with our most important photographs on it. My dad swiftly opened the door, literally throwing us out, and then grabbing us and running as far from the house as he could. And when we were about 35 meters away, our house exploded. It bursted into flames while pieces of stone and wood flew all over the place. We could see small pieces of our furniture burning and flying near the wreck of our home. My mom and dad were both shivering and crying, and I was just standing there. My inside was burning with fear and sadness, but I just stood there, emotionless, while the rest of our home burnt off. The neighbors had called the emergency service, but when the ambulances and fire trucks got there was only the black structure of our house standing, and random pieces of wreckage everywhere near it. Even the tree near our house had burnt a little, so we were homeless, had nothing, but even worse, I had no idea where StudHead, the one to blame, was. Me and my parents could live at our grandparents' house until we got a new house. The only thing that was saved from our home, besides us, was that little box of photographs. so we had to get all the furniture and other stuff we needed that was lost in the explosion. We got to move into a new house of our own in 2.5 years, and by 2005, we had already left behind everything lost in the explosion. I lost all my Legos, but didn't want new ones anymore. Thankfully, my mom and dad believe me when I say I don't want them because of bad memories. Oh yeah, the explosion was reported in the news as an accidental gas explosion, but I know it was intended by that demonic little thing. So now, in 2013, I'm already 22 years old and live in my own home. When I decided to buy a new Lego set, I got to be honest, I missed the good old days of building with Legos, and I thought maybe that StudHead was actually just a normal head that I just had thought was demonic. So, I bought the set, and when I opened the door of my apartment, something made me shit my pants. On the floor in the hall was the exact same fucking head. It was StudHead. I dropped the Lego pack and grabbed the head. It was exactly the same, just older looking. I took the head, took the package, drove to the lake shore, and threw both of them as far off into the lake as I could. I thought that would do it, but I keep on seeing the head everywhere. It might be that I'm just going nuts, but hear me. Check your Lego boxes. It might be there.